Well, everyone knows, if you know Lewis, me and him, we were dancing buddies in the car. Um, he was my singing buddy and my dancing buddy. He was free-spirited, always loved to smile, always loves a good joke. His sense of humor, the way he saw the world, the way he saw the people, it was just full of life. And he enjoyed baseball.
He liked the game of football. He enjoyed playing the game of football, but football was not his life. He was so well-rounded in all aspects. He could play basketball, baseball was his favorite sport. His favorite player was David Ortiz. He was a son that really, as an athlete, he was well-rounded. He was well-rounded as a person. It was almost a given growing up, in the South, you playing football, if you have some size on you. So it was almost like, expectations were that he would play.
I dropped Lewis off from practice at about 3:45. And every day when I drop him off for practice, I say the same thing. I love you, have a good practice.
I had done the football practice pickup so many times with older siblings playing sports, I kind of knew the routine. As I'm coming down to the field, they're running sprints. And I'm seeing Lewis struggling. I'm seeing him struggling, but I'm hearing the coach that's blowing the whistle. Every time he blows the whistle, I'm like thinking to myself internally, like, is enough enough? I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at the heat. I'm looking at the fact that they played a scrimmage the night before. My eyes are on Lewis. I'm looking at Lewis. He's leaning on two players in front of him. He's breathing hard. You can tell that. But my thoughts are, okay, well, he's made it through a tough practice. The defensive coordinator says, I need my defensive unit to huddle up. And he takes them through a training procedure called up downs. That's where you had to basically chop your feet, go down, get back up, chop your feet, go down, up downs. Lewis very early on started struggling with the up downs. He got to a point where he had to get on his knee to get back up. Then his last time, he just fell flat on his face. Even in the moment of him getting to that place, coaches are encouraging him to get up. How is he gonna do anything else? What else do you want from him? By that time, I'm already making my way down to the field because as a father, I'm getting ready to step in. They brought ice. So you got ice coming, cold water coming, you got cold towels, just trying to cool him down. They asked Lewis to say, hey, what did you have to eat today? He said baked chicken, sweet potatoes, and I had some grits. When he said I had some grits, he dropped his head, he fell back. One of the coaches called 911, send the paramedics out. They began immediately to perform CPR, and I'm sitting back as a father just looking for signs of what's going on. We get in the ambulance. My focus is on Lewis and realizing that, hey, I gotta call my wife. So I called Shonda. I said, where are you?
But as soon as I picked up the phone, I said, is Lewis okay? And he said, Shonda, I need you. Where are you? I need you to come to Lexington Memorial Hospital. I saw my husband standing in the parking lot of the emergency room. We're both running, going through the doors. And he going back, and he didn't stop. And I knew at that time it wasn't good because he went straight through the double doors where usually a hospital administrator would have to come out and escort you behind those doors. We beg to see him. Can we see him? Can we see him? Can we see him? She leaves, she comes back. She says, okay, we're gonna let you see him. We go into a room and Lewis is on the table and I see his cleats hanging from the edge of the table. We stood in the room probably for about 3 minutes and they told us we had to leave. A few minutes later, the doctor and the nurse comes in. The doctor had tears in his eyes. The nurse, eyes looked like a deer in headlight, and they just looked at us. They didn't say a word. They stood side by side and they just shook their head. They didn't say no, they just shook their head, and we knew at that point that he didn't make it.
I immediately dropped to my knees because at that moment, I realized where we were.
So the first course of action after the casseroles, the calls, was to get to the truth.
I wanted 2 + 2 to equal 4. I wanted answers. I wanted to know what happened. I had answers, and I wanted the truth. And want to be able to do that with not having to go through the people that were a part of it. I need someone outside of that system to come in and be able to advocate for my son and what happened in his life. And so meeting with attorney Jeff Murphy at his, in Tampa, Florida, we had a great initial meeting with him, and he was the one that referred us to attorney Bobby Jones.
I was a little hesitant. I'm a native of South Carolina. It's a great state, but we do have a history, and we have a strong political history in the state. And as a parent, when you lose a child, it's not political, it's not popular, because it's just not natural. So you really need an attorney who's not concerned about the politics. You also need an attorney who has a heart for humanity, who sees the value in just getting the truth. And that's what we found in Bobby Jones.
He was not only compassionate, but he was empathetic. He saw Lewis as his son. So he put himself in my seat and said, okay, well, I understand what you're going through. And he really came from that perspective, from the fact of, hey, not just having compassion, but I empathize with you. I'm putting myself in your shoes, so I understand why you want these answers. I understand what you're looking for. I understand that you're searching for truth. I just had a peace that surpasses all understanding being in his presence. And the fact that he was not only empathetic, and I go one step further, was that he was knowledgeable. That was awesome because it kept us on what we should be focused in on, and that was the fact that, okay, we're gonna get to the bottom of what happened. We're gonna search for truth. I feel that he's the voice for justice. You have to have someone that's a voice for you. You have to have someone that speaks from a place that can take you at a table and take your concerns, take your questions, take all the things you're dealing with and look to get some resolution. And Attorney Bobby Jones did a great job of that for us.